And let's get started. All right. Hello, everyone. It's Jenny again, hosting for Sharks for Kids. Very excited today. We've got something a little bit different. We're not going to be talking about sharks, but dolphins with Kelly Melillo Sweeting. I hope I didn't butcher that. But,
you did excellent.
Great. Kelly is originally from the States, but she now lives in Bimini, which is, as you'll know, the same place as our founders, Gillian and Duncan. So you know each other very well, I believe.
Yeah.
And Kelly studies dolphins in Bimini. And so she's going to tell us all about dolphin communication today. And all about the research that she does in Bimini. So Kelly, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit further? And the floor is all yours.
Excellent, thank you very much. And we'll see if my video decides to cooperate at some point or not. But thank you for that introduction. My name is Kel, and I'm going to talk to you today about studying wild dolphins and a bit of information about them. So first, myself, again, my name is Kel. I am a researcher with the Dolphin Communication Project, which is a mouthful to say all of the time. So we call ourselves DCP. And though DCP studies dolphins in different parts of the world, I get to be in charge of studying the dolphins off the island of Bimini in the Bahamas. So that's me recording a bottlenose dolphin with our specialized underwater camera and acoustic system. So first, let's make sure everyone is aware of where Bimini is. So does anyone have any idea where the Bahamas is? I know you've been listening to lots of webinars, maybe getting some geography lessons in at school. So the Bahamas is right here off the coast of Florida, and you can see that light blue coloring. Let's zoom in on that and get a better look. So here you can see the country of the Bahamas. It is very spread out, but it is just off the east coast of Florida. It's northeast of Cuba, and it's an independent country. It used to be a colony of Great Britain, and it's made up of a lot of islands. Does anybody have any guesses about how many islands make up the Bahamas? Go ahead and chat if there's somebody in the room with you, or you can put your guesses into the chats. How many islands make up the Bahamas? Over 700 islands, and that doesn't even count rocks and keys that just stick up out of the water. This country is home to a lot of marine life, which you could guess by looking at all of that ocean that they have. So let's zoom in a little bit further to talk about Bimini. So DCP studies wild dolphins off the coast of this smaller Bahamian island, Bimini. Bimini is separated from Florida by the Gulf Stream, which is really, really deep water. But Bimini itself sits on shallow bank water, and the dolphins seem to love this. They can hang out in the shallow water for playing and resting and mating, and then they zip over to the deep water to feed, and then they can zip right back over to this shallow water. They don't have to have a long commute or anything like that to find their dinner. So now, the dolphins. What is a dolphin? Let's get some possibilities up there, a little quiz for you. Is a dolphin a fish, a mammal, or do you think it might be an alien from a yet-to-be-discovered planet? What are the correct answers? Any ideas? Answers? Oh, I hit the wrong button. The suspense. It is a mammal, that's right. So though most of the Sharks for Kids webinars probably center around sharks and other fish, a dolphin is a mammal. Okay, you might have known that already, but what makes a mammal a mammal? Any guesses there? Let's see, do you think it breathes air? Do you think it might have mammary glands for milk? Do you think it has to have hair, at least at some point in its life? How about this is obscure? Do you think that all mammals might have the same 3 tiny bones in their middle ear? Do you think mammals like to play dress up? What are the criteria for mammals? Of course, it's 1 through 4. You do not have to like to play dress up in order to be a mammal. So all of these characteristics mammals have in common. Humans are a mammal. A shark, not a mammal. A lion is a mammal. A pelican is not a mammal. All dolphins are mammals, which means you saw that they have to breathe air. So let's talk a little bit about how they do that. Dolphins breathe air through their blowholes. How do you breathe air? Through your eyes, ears, mouth, and nose? Yes. So we humans can breathe through our nose and we can breathe through our mouth. Dolphins do not breathe through their mouth at all. They do all of their breathing through their blowhole at the top of their head. Why do you think the blowhole is at the top of the head? What benefit might that give to the dolphins? Any guesses? Thoughts? Who has been snorkeling before or seen video or photographs of someone snorkeling? If you've got your mask on and you're looking at the fish and the reef, and then you've got your snorkel leading up to the surface, it's pretty convenient to be able to still look around and see what's underwater, keep track of your friends, look at the fish, while still being able to take a breath through that snorkel. So imagine you're a dolphin. You live in the ocean, but you have to breathe air. It's awfully convenient to only need to stick the top of your head out of the water, and you can still keep your eyes and the rest of your body below to see what's going on. It's much more efficient. They just come to the surface of the water, exhale, get a quick inhale, and they can keep going about their business. Dolphins, you'll notice, have just 1 hole for their blowhole. How many blowholes do you have? How many nostrils do you have? That's right, humans have 2. Dolphins only have 1. And what is the neutral position? When you're not thinking about it, when you're not doing anything extra, are your nostrils open or closed? They're open, right? Well, the neutral position of the blowhole is actually closed. And that means the dolphins have to kind of consciously come to the surface and open the blowhole to take a breath. That's really convenient if you're in the ocean, because that means they are less likely to accidentally get water in that blowhole. Sometimes people refer to this as voluntary breathing, but that's a little bit misleading. So it's really better to think of it as conscious breathing. They can't fall all the way asleep or they would suffocate. So that covers breathing for the mammals, the dolphins. How about their young? Dolphins have 1 baby at a time. The young are born live, but mom takes lots of care of baby. Here in Bimini, once the baby leaves mom and lives on its own, most don't really come back to hang out with mom very much. Hopefully, you all will visit your grown-ups after you move out of the house, like Dolphin Paul still goes and visits his mom, Dolphin Leslie, more than any of the other calves that we've seen here. How about how many dolphins are there in the world? Any guesses? How many species of dolphins? I bet you know how many shark species there are, and it's less than that. Do you think it's 200 species of dolphins? Do you think it's 21, 37, or 94 species of dolphins? Ideas? Well, right now, 37 species of dolphins are recognized, and that's plus river or freshwater dolphins and porpoises. And this might change. Scientists are always learning new information about how many species there are, how they're related, and that's through discovering new dolphins in the field and also through genetic studies and just learning more about how the different species are related and how they're different. So now let's talk about the body parts of the dolphins. You might notice that these terms are the same as what you've learned about for sharks. So you've got the dorsal side or the back of the dolphin compared to the ventral side or the belly or the underside of the dolphin. So dorsal is on the back and ventral is on the belly, just like you've learned in sharks. So now when we look more closely at some of the different body parts, some of those terms are also the same as what you might have learned for sharks. So dolphins also have pectoral fins. They also have a dorsal fin. They have a tail. They have a peduncle, this area behind the dorsal fin and the tail. We're going to talk more about the peduncle in a minute. But they also have that blowhole at the top of their head. A dolphin's forehead is called a melon, and their beak is called a rostrum. The rostrum is that pointy beak that dolphins have. Let's first talk a little bit about the dorsal fins and the pectoral fins. The dorsal fin may aid in stability for the dolphin, but if a dolphin survives, say it lost its dorsal fin from a shark attack, it doesn't mean that it can't keep still and can't swim in a straight line. It doesn't swim all wobbly. And there are some species of dolphins that don't really have much of a dorsal fin at all. But these fins, the dorsal fin and the tail fluke, they might also aid in the dolphin's temperature regulation. That's called thermoregulation. Then they have their pectoral fins on the sides of their bodies. These fins help the dolphin steer and stop, but they're also important for communication and relationship building. So do you ever go up to someone and high five them or shake their hand? DCP has done a lot to study pectoral fin contact and how that helps the dolphins communicate and bond and build friendships. But sometimes dolphins lose a pectoral fin, and they can still interact with the other dolphins, and they also can still steer and stop, just like those pectoral fins help them do. Here's a picture of a dolphin we called Nemo. She had her little lucky fin, and after she lost her pectoral fin, she didn't like crash into things or not be able to steer or swim and not be able to stop. She did just fine. And I think if technology will cooperate, I have a little video so you can see that even without her pectoral fin, she did just fine swimming. So she could still swim upside down, swim in a circle. She's just kind of cruising around my video camera. She can still get to the surface to breathe. She's not awkward. She still interacted with all of the other dolphins in a very normal kind of way. When we first saw her in 2003, we weren't sure if this lost pectoral fin, if she was born that way, or if it had been an injury. But even over that first summer, those first few months of seeing her, we could see that it was healing. The coloration was changing, and so that really told us that this was probably an injury. She lost that fin somehow because it was still continuing to heal. And she did just great. So here's one last look at Nemo, zooming all around. Missing that pec fin, but she still did just fine. And sometimes the other dolphins would make sure they went to her good side so that they could rub pectoral fins with her. And then as she got a little bit older, she got to become a bit mischievous and liked to sort of chase and play rough with the other dolphins. So that's Nemo. Off she goes. So how about their tail fluke? Does anybody remember from learning about sharks, which position is the shark tail in? Can you make a shark tail with your hand? Yeah, the shark tail goes side to side, right? Well, the dolphin tail goes up and down. You can see here. Do that with your hands. Excellent. Let's look a little more closely at it. So here you can see the peduncle of a bottlenose dolphin, and here's the tail fluke. This bottlenose dolphin is about to dive down. The dolphin's peduncle is very, very strong, like bizarrely strong, stronger than scientists really think it ought to be. And one of the more curious things about the dolphin's tail is that most humans would think that the power stroke, the way where the most strength would be, that the power stroke is when the dolphin's tail is going down, and that coming up would be the recovery. But actually, experiments show that it's the opposite. The dolphin's getting most of its power when it's pulling the tail up, and then it's recovering on the downstroke. The power stroke is up, and then it's recovering when it comes down. But it's very, very strong, strongest part of their body. Now, how about that rostrum, right? So does anyone know how well a bottlenose dolphin can smell? Has the word nose in its name after all? Any guesses? A good sense of smell or a bad sense of smell in the bottlenose dolphin? Well, despite their name, dolphins have no nose at all. Their mouth or their beak, as we've talked about, is called a rostrum, and scientists don't think they even have a sense of smell. The olfactory part of their brain isn't even there, but they do have a sense of taste. So they may use their taste buds to get information about what's going on around them. And you may want to compare that to the senses of the shark, right, and their olfactory abilities. And this is actually an Atlantic spotted dolphin, even though I was talking about the bottlenose dolphin. Dolphins do have a cool superpower, though, of echolocation. So here, does anybody remember what the forehead of the dolphin is called? What was that forehead called? Right? That's the melon, right? So the melon inside that forehead is the same density as seawater. So this means that as the dolphin produces its echolocation, which is a sound wave, the sound wave leaves an area, that's the density of seawater, and it goes into the ocean, the density of seawater. And this allows that echolocation signal to be very precise in its direction. If it was going from one density to another, it'd be more likely to bend and move around. So this means the dolphin can be very precise in what it wants to investigate. That sound wave gets sent out, it bounces off an object, and then the echo returns to the dolphin, not through its ears, but through its lower jaw. So we know quite a bit about how the echolocation is produced, how it's received, but we don't have a lot of information about how they're actually processing that to gain information. But there are studies out there that help us understand how precise, how detailed that information is, distinguishing the density of objects, the distance of objects, things like that. And then here in Bimini, a big part of our research is photo identification. So we have two species of dolphins that are here off Bimini, the Atlantic spotted dolphin and the common bottlenose dolphin. Can anybody guess what ocean the Atlantic spotted dolphin is found in? This is not a trick question. It is for once a common name that actually makes sense. The Atlantic spotted dolphin lives in the Atlantic Ocean, and guess what it has all over its body? Spots. But it's actually born without spots and then develops spots as it gets older through its entire life. So we can use these spot patterns to recognize individuals. And we create a digital catalog keeping track of individuals as they get older, as they get more spots. The bottlenose dolphin can have spots, but we don't really use their spots for identification. Instead, we use the nicks in their dorsal fin. So this is called the leading edge of the dorsal fin, and this is the trailing edge. And the trailing edge easily gets nicked up. And so no two spotted dolphins have the same spot pattern, and no two bottlenose dolphins will really have the exact same nicks and scars. So we can look for that dolphin year after year and add to it when they get new nicks, when they get new injuries. Here in Bimini, one thing that's different from some of the research that's done with sharks is that we don't capture the dolphins, we don't feed them, we don't even touch the dolphins. But we can use these natural markings to tell them apart and keep track of them over time without needing to tag them or anything else. If you're interested in photo ID of dolphins, you can find DCP's pre-recorded webinar. I think we did it in May, and that's on our website and on our YouTube channel, Dolphin Communication Project. Clever. Time for just a few more things to tell you guys about. And one thing is that we can use that ability to tell dolphins apart, right? To ask questions like, who hangs out with whom? So female spotted dolphins off Bimini seem to change their friends over time. This is often based on who's having a baby in the same year, and then those moms will hang out more when their little ones are young. There are 3 male spotted dolphins in particular who hang out a lot, and they've hung out year after year together. We call them Split Jaw, Prince William, and Speedy. They're not exactly the same age, so it wasn't that they were just born at the same time and their moms hung out. But so Splitjaw is the oldest, Prince William is in the middle, and then Speedy is the youngest. And they're not together every minute of the day, but they're together much more than other random dolphins are. So we have another webinar plugging all of our past talks. Maybe the older kids and the general public might be interested on a talk on spotted dolphin friendships. But for now, let's check out this video of the boys, as I call them. During a particularly long bow ride, Prince William just started circling Splitjaw. So this is Splitjaw here, this is Prince William, and then this is Speedy kind of off to the side. So watch what Prince William, he just starts circling Splitjaw over and over. This is a short clip, but he just kept doing this. So we think that they bow ride sometimes for functionality. They're going in the same direction as the boat and they can save energy by surfing that bow wave. But then sometimes it's hard to deny that it just looks fun. So this looked like a way that Prince William was just kind of playing and being goofy and having fun. So it's not just young dolphins who play, the older dolphins do too. And another thing that dolphins do for play is to play with objects. So in Bimini, those objects often mean seaweed, though sometimes they'll play with fish they have no intention of actually eating. Sometimes, unfortunately, we see them playing with garbage, in which case when they're done playing with it, we try and take it, we try and get it out of the ocean. But there's a lot of seaweed play here in Bimini. So here's a little video of, I think it's Inca, let's check, playing with another friend with some sargassum. So sargassum is a type of seaweed. See, that volume might be a bit loud. So they'll grab this seaweed on their pectoral fin, and that dolphin moved it to its peduncle, then to its fluke. Now Inca has it on her pectoral fin, and it's not accidental. They didn't just swim and happen to bump into this seaweed, so they don't really mind. It seems like a very purposeful, intentional game. Echolocating on it, grabbing it with their rostrum, passing it between each other or just their own body parts, and really making purposeful games out of it. Now you see they each have their own piece there, and practicing sinking and carrying it around. We don't ever try and play the seaweed game with them. It's very important to us that these dolphins stay safe over time, and that includes not letting them get too trusting with humans. And so I feel that kind of reaching out and playing with them invites them to get too accustomed to people reaching out to them, perhaps trying to touch them, trying to hurt them. So we just watch their play and try and learn from it and enjoy it. So if you want to learn more about those dolphins, like Splitjaw and Prince William and Inca, you can go to the DCP website, which is dolphincommunicationproject.org, and under Ways to Help, you'll find the Adopt a Dolphin page, and each of the dolphins has a little picture and a short little biography, so you can learn more about them there. And then we also have, under our Education tab, we have Kids Science activities, so those are free to download, and we're trying to update that kind of various points throughout the year. So you always want to return and see if there's anything else there. And then we have our webinars, just like Sharks for Kids. They're posted on our website too, or you can access them at YouTube. And then questions. So stay in touch with us on our website, email, social media. We're trying to get better about social media. Reach out to us if you have any more questions. But for now, I'd love to see if you guys submitted any questions to Jenny.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can.
Great. So why don't we try and see if your video will work again? Because it's still not working. Do you want to stop sharing, maybe?
Yep. Stop that. See if that improves it. And then I just turned it off and turned it back on again to see if that will help.
Doesn't look like it's working.
Or if you'll have my... Is it there? Is it frozen or it's not there at all?
It's not there at all.
Oh.
Which is weird. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but we might have to go with that. So we've got a few questions coming through. The first one is from Hannah. She asks, why do you like dolphins? What got you into studying dolphins in the first place?
Good question. I don't think I always necessarily liked dolphins specifically. I think I liked the ocean and kind of everything that was in the ocean. When I grew up, just as a hobby, my mom really liked the stars and the planets. And so we would go outside if there was a comet to see or a meteor shower. And I started realizing to myself, like, I love that too, but the ocean is kind of right in our backyards. It's right here on Earth, and yet we know so little about it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that sort of piqued my curiosity. And then once I started realizing that there were these creatures that live out there, but they breathe air, well, that doesn't seem to make any sense at all. I should learn more about that. So as a kid, I used to ride my bike to the town library, and this will date myself, but I used to get the encyclopedias and books and photocopy facts, and that's what I would spend my allowance money on, nerdy photocopies that now everyone can just look it up online. But I've kind of always loved it. And then in college, I had the chance to do an internship with DCP, and that was really supposed to kind of get it out of my system. And then I was going to realize that, okay, I did that for one summer and now I'll get a real job like all the adults were telling me to. And instead I didn't. Instead I was a summer intern one summer, and then I used it as my field site, my field collaboration to get my master's degree. And then by then I just kind of said, maybe I could just keep doing this. Maybe this is my real job. And so I've been doing it. If it weren't for COVID messing everything up this year, this would be my 18th research season here in Bimini. And it was supposed to just be 9 weeks of my life.
And are you based in Bimini full time, or do you go back to the States?
Yep, so I'm based in Bimini full time. This is my year-long residency is here in Bimini, which is nice. Even though our research season is primarily in the summer, it's nice to be here year-round in case other things pop up and good weather, or some other opportunity to check on the dolphins in the winter. I'm here all the time.
Awesome. So Sophia's sister asks if dolphins have big brains.
They do have big brains, but why they have big brains is a bit of a debate. So some people think that they have big brains just to deal with life in the ocean and temperature and things like that. Other people look at how many crevices and contours there are in the brain and what that tells us about surface area and how smart the dolphins are. Other people look at the brain to body ratio, in which case dolphins, bottlenose dolphins in particular, have very high brain size to body size ratio. But one of the things that scientists are trying to do now compared to say 20 years ago is, instead of just thinking about how smart are dolphins, they're really trying to think about their cognition. So more broadly, what are they capable of? Because it's not necessarily the right approach to just make a list of how smart different animals are, right? Because we always want humans to be up at the top.
Mhm.
That's our nature. And we're always comparing other creatures to what humans can do. Well, I bet if you put humans in the ocean, we wouldn't be able to keep up with a dolphin, right? We can't echolocate. We can't find our food in the sea. So it's very dependent on our environment and our social societies. So we think about it in that way.
Cool. And that's kind of similar. So Sophie asks, do dolphins work together when sharks approach? Are they capable of teamwork, but also with other species maybe? Do they work together with other species sometimes?
So they do. They are a very cooperative species. So they have sorry, my 6-year-old and my 4-year-old are making a brief little appearance. They love the dolphins too, but they're gonna wait patiently for me. So dolphins do cooperate. They particularly cooperate when they're feeding often, and the feeding technique is going to vary by species and by geography. Not all dolphins feed in the same way, and not all dolphins face the same predators. But sharks are their natural predator. And so there have been some reports of dolphins cooperating and kind of teaming up to chase away a predatory shark. But shark attacks on dolphins are actually extremely rare to witness firsthand. So we don't entirely know what they do or how many different methods different species will have.
Awesome. Yeah. And obviously Bimini is a place where both animals are very present. And so do they, do dolphins use different habitats to sharks?
There is some overlap. If you remember when that map of Bimini was up, we think that they like the shallow water for play, socializing, resting, mating, because perhaps the relative safety. So there are fewer sharks that venture there to the shallow water, but then they don't have enough food there. So we think that they go to the deeper water to feed, and there they might encounter more sharks. But we don't know the extent to which they have to deal with sharks, how big a pressure it is, but we do see healed shark bites on the dolphins. So we do know that at least sometimes some sharks are trying to snack on the dolphins. Here in Bimini, we think it's probably bull sharks and tiger sharks for the most part.
Interesting. And are there any other types of cetaceans around Bimini?
Not close to Bimini, so not in those shallow waters, but just as soon as you get into the deep water, you could see pilot whales, you could see the occasional humpback whale or orca. We get a lot of boaters coming to Bimini from South Florida, and every once in a while I'll see them and they'll rush up and they'll say, look at this video that I recorded. So lots of pilot whales, and the occasional humpback whale, and I've heard stories of the occasional orca. But right around Bimini, it's really just the Atlantic spotted dolphin and the common bottlenose. And pantropical spotteds are mainly in the deep water. So pantropical spotteds are probably like just right nearby, but they don't actually come close to Bimini.
Interesting. And so one of the questions we ask all the time, and some of the people watching us will inevitably have these questions as well, is what is your advice for someone who wants to study these animals or who wants to study the oceans?
I would say, one, learn every chance you get. And the learning never stops. So the older you get, the more you can read the primary literature, we call it, the scientific papers that scientists themselves are putting out. You want to read those, and then you want to try and volunteer. So whether or not that's at a local aquarium or a short trip, if you have the ability to travel, get some experience, because one of the things that you want to discover is if you want ocean science to be a hobby, if you want to be a scuba diver and have your vacation maybe center around marine life, or do you really want it to be your career? And there's no wrong answer there, but you want to take some time to figure it out for yourself.
Awesome. And then Jennifer actually just asked a question which is perfect, because I was about to get onto something similar. Jennifer asks, is there any human threats to dolphins the same way that sharks, for example, are hunted a lot for their fins or overfishing? So what kind of threats do dolphins face today?
There are some kind of more obvious in your face threats like hunting, but then there are other more kind of hidden threats. And one of those hidden threats is ocean noise. So dolphins can make all sorts of sounds. They can make whistles and clicks and squeaks and squawks. And they use their echolocation, as you know, to investigate their environment. But when humans in particular are making a lot of extra noise, particularly through shipping, but also through development and things like that, drilling, pile driving, things like that. We don't know the extent to which those human-caused sounds might be damaging their ears or just disrupting the dolphins' ability to communicate with each other, find their prey, detect their predator, and stay safe. And then bycatch is an issue, but that varies by species and by the part of the world. Thankfully, in the Bahamas, bycatch and hunting are not issues for the dolphins here.
Awesome. And so that leads to my next question, which is, what can the people watching us do to help dolphins?
Learn and talk to your friends and spread the word. DCP, like a lot of other research groups, believes in the philosophy that you cannot protect what you don't understand. So we as dolphin scientists can't ask you to want to protect dolphins if we can't give you some information about them and help you feel connected to them and their entire ocean home. The other thing about DCP, people often think that we think dolphins are the most important creature in the whole sea. And we don't. We think they're really great and we want to learn about them and we want to protect them, but they're easy for people to feel connected to and care about. And guess where dolphins live? In the entire ocean. And so if you want to protect dolphins, you have to protect the entire ocean. So use less plastic, choose organizations that support beach cleanups. Go do a beach cleanup, a park cleanup yourself. Choose products that protect the environment and try and give back. And then learn and chat and care. And then when you grow up and you're voting, vote for someone who's going to protect their environment.
That's right. Yeah, definitely there's so many ways we can help, and maybe there's somewhere on your website that people can find out a little bit more about how they can help.
Yes, so please do visit www. I don't think you need to say that anymore, but that's how behind the times I am. DolphinCommunicationProject.org. And that's our website where you can access that educational material for free. And then you can support us through things like our Adopt a Wild Dolphin program, where you get some information about the dolphins for yourself. And then that support helps us continue our education and our research programs.
Perfect. Of course, you can also, we'll put this webinar up on YouTube in the next couple of days. So feel free to share it around with all of your friends and your family, and that way you can spread the word about dolphins in the ocean. So that will be on our website. You can go to sharksforkids.com/webinars, where you'll also find our previous webinars. So with that, Kelly, thank you so much for joining us and for telling us all about dolphins in Bimini.
Thank you so much for having me, and sorry that the Bimini internet decided not to show you my video. Maybe it's because I knew my hair was so messy.
Not to worry, not to worry. At least we saw your presentation.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Bye.
Bye.